Welcome to Variant, where we love comics more than I can express how excited I am for Avengers Infinity War. I'm your host, Arris. Basically, everyone on the planet knows that we are less than a month away from Avengers Infinity War crashing into theaters. And I am more than ready to feast my eyes on the culmination of 10 years of the MCU, and what looks to be the biggest movie Marvel has ever done by far. So as part of our celebration of the MCU's 10-year anniversary, I'm going to give you guys our list of the 10 best fights in the Marvel Cinematic Universe thus far. Before I dive in, I do want to let you guys know that we didn't include any of the Marvel TV shows that are connected to the MCU. This list was selected purely from the Marvel Studios movies. So if you start to wonder why that awesome fight scene from Daredevil or Punisher isn't on here, there's your answer. But whether you disagree with the rankings on this list or not, one thing we could all agree on is that the MCU has some of the best fight scenes in comic book movie history. Also, if you haven't seen every MCU movie yet, this episode may contain spoilers for you. With that said, let's kick this thing off at number 10. The first fight on our list is Doctor Strange vs. Dormammu in the 2016 Doctor Strange solo movie. Now some of you may be thinking, really Arris? This is one of your favorite fights from the MCU? Well yes it is. Not only does it look fantastic with all the Steve Ditko inspired colors from the comic source material, but it's just very different and refreshing from all the other fights we've seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe thus far. It's more a battle of wits than a battle with punches, kicks, and flying energy blasts. Don't get me wrong, there's still action involved as Doctor Strange dies countless times and in numerous different ways at the hands of Dormammu, but that's because the good doctor trapped Dormammu and himself in an endless time loop, forcing the two of them to live the same moment for eternity unless Dormammu agrees to Strange's bargain and ends his assault on Earth. In the end, we're given a great and very unique fight sequence as well as the ever so quotable line,
"Dormammu, I've come to bargain."
Next up is Thor vs. Surtur in the opening scene of Thor Ragnarok. There are other cool fight scenes in this movie as well, like Thor vs. Gladiator Hulk, or even the final Thor vs. Hela fight, where Thor goes all Odin Force, but personally I thought the opening fight was more badass. One of the reasons is because I personally like to see Thor fight with his hammer, as it's such a massive aspect to the character, and we don't see that in any of the other fights, because Hela destroys Mjolnir immediately after arriving in the movie. Again, I think Thor's hammer is one of the coolest weapons in comics, and I freaking love the way they use it in this sequence. He's spinning Mjolnir, mowing Surtur's army down left and right, throwing it around, and it just keeps coming back to him. He also uses it as a shield. It's just incredibly awesome and still my favorite scene from Thor Ragnarok. Taking the 8th spot is yet another Thor fight, and that's when he fought the Frost Giants in the first Thor movie. Say what you will about this movie, but this fight scene is amazing. It's the first time we really got to see how Thor's fighting would be handled in the MCU, and I've got to say, it did not disappoint. Overall, the use of Mjolnir in the MCU is amazing. They adapted it perfectly from the comics. But besides the cool fighting and use of Mjolnir, the Frost Giants look freaking fantastic. The practical effects mixed with the VFX worked out so well. Also, I can't be the only one who thinks the Frost Giants remind them of the White Walkers from Game of Thrones, who are also awesome looking, I might add. Come to think of it, that would be an awesome versus episode. White Walkers versus Frost Giants? That might need to happen. In short, pretty much any time you have the God of Thunder destroying things with his hammer, mixed with good choreography and cool looking villains, you're gonna have an epic fight scene. At least I think so. At number 7 is Iron Man and War Machine versus Hammer Drones and Whiplash at the end of 2010's Iron Man 2. Now I know this isn't the most well-received Marvel movie, although I didn't think it's as bad as most people make it out to be, but either way, there's no denying this fight is nuts. You literally have Iron Man and War Machine surrounded by a crap ton of Hammer Drones, then Stark and Rhodey put their faceplates down and get to work. You have Iron Man punching, kicking, and repulsor blasting drones every which way, and War Machine unleashing machine gun fire every which way you could think of. Sweet baby Jesus, it's truly a beautiful sight. At one point, War Machine literally cuts a drone in half with one of his machine guns. It's just so much eye candy, my eyes got cavities. Then of course Whiplash makes his way to the fight, and it's more delicious treats for my eyes to consume. This is just a highly underrated fight scene in my opinion. Rounding out the first half of fights on this list is a tie between the amazing opening fight scene in Avengers Age of Ultron, where the Avengers are storming the Hydra base, and the end boss battle between the Avengers and Ultron. Because they're both so awesome, how do you choose? Let's start with the opening fight sequence. I'm a sucker for any scene that's just one long continuous shot. especially when it involves superheroes. It takes two things I love and puts them together. It's just all kinds of epic. In this fight sequence, the camera follows one superhero fighting, then all of a sudden turns and follows another beating up this person or smashing and blowing up something else. It's just glorious and really gives you that fun action-packed feel of comics come to life. Plus, this fight also gave us the amazing slow-mo shot of the Avengers lining up and charging in the air. Then there's the amazing final battle against Ultron at the end of the movie, where the Avengers are protecting the core and the camera goes 360 around them in slow motion while they're fighting off Ultron sentries. In that moment, you see all of the heroes weaving in and out through one another and dismantling each sentry one by one. Mama Pajama. Then at the very end of the fight, Vision, Iron Man, and Thor team up against Ultron to literally melt his face into defeat, followed by a swift punch by the Hulk. Now, do you see why this ended in a tie? At number 5 is Hulk vs. Hulkbuster Iron Man, once again in Avengers Age of Ultron. What's funny is that Age of Ultron isn't even in my top 5 favorite Marvel movies, but the fights in it are just crazy good. What are you gonna do? Anyway, this fight is every Marvel fan's dream come true. It's just pure destruction. I mean, who doesn't want to see the Hulk go head to head with essentially a mech suit Hulk that flies and has repulsor blasts? To give you an example of the awesome, how about the part where both their fists collide and it creates a shockwave? Dude. Then we also get the hilarious part where Iron Man is punching the Hulk over and over saying, "Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep." I was dying the first time I saw that. And of course, I cannot forget the part where the Hulk is literally punching Iron Man up a freaking building. It's just pure awesome destruction and brutality, which is everything 10-year-old Arris has ever wanted. Who am I kidding? It's everything 30-year-old Arris who's married and has a kid has ever wanted. Next up is the first fight between Captain America and Winter Soldier from Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Putting it plain and simple, this fight is just downright badass. There's nothing overly complicated about this fight. It's not some huge spectacle with explosions and 10 different heroes fighting. It's just a super well choreographed one-on-one fight scene. It's literally a street level brawl where Cap and Winter Soldier are just wrecking shop on one another. From Bucky using Cap's own shield against him, to Cap kicking and then kneeing Bucky into the side of a van like a boss. Everything about this fight is awesome. You know what this fight scene is? It's like Jason Bourne or John Wick meets superhero movies. And to that I say, thank you, Russo brothers. Thank you so much. Making its way into the top 3 is the Avengers Battle of New York fight at the end of the first Avengers. This easily earns its spot on this list for multiple reasons. For one, it was the first time ever the Avengers assembled on the big screen. I mean, you can't tell me you didn't get goosebumps the first time you watched the Avengers assemble with the camera doing a 360 around them and then the epic Avengers theme playing. Heck, I still get goosebumps. It's one of my favorite scenes in the MCU to date. Right after that, the Hulk is smashing Chitauri left and right, and we get the very first battle sequence in the MCU shot with a single camera move. Something other Marvel movies like Age of Ultron would continue to do, but this was the first one. It literally blew my mind the first time I saw it, and gives the audience such a cool perspective of all the chaos and grandiose of the fight. Altogether, the Avengers Battle of New York scene was the first of its kind, and set the stage for every epic Avenger battle after it. At runner-up is Iron Man vs. Captain America and Winter Soldier at the end of Captain America: Civil War. What makes this fight so good is not just the epic fight itself, but the emotions that are fueling it. I mean, Iron Man just found out that a brainwashed Bucky killed his parents, for crying out loud. So not surprisingly, Iron Man goes straight homicidal. But Captain America can't let that happen, as Bucky is his long-lost best friend. Steve tries to tell Stark that Bucky was brainwashed and that he didn't know what he was doing. But Stark doesn't care and tells Cap to get out of his way. Despite the fact that Steve and Tony are good friends, Cap can't let Tony kill Bucky, and this amazing fight is the result. At the beginning of the fight, we get the awesome 2-on-1 moment against Iron Man. Then we also get the homage to the cover of Civil War issue 7, where Captain America is blocking Iron Man's repulsor blast with his shield. We even get the great callback to the first Captain America movie when Cap tells Iron Man, "I could do this all day." This fight is so good for so many reasons. But again, the emotions that fuel it is what I think really takes it to the next level. This is also the last time we've seen Iron Man and Captain America together on screen. So I'm very curious to see what happens when they meet again in Avengers Infinity War. By now, you probably know what the number 1 pick is, since I haven't mentioned it yet, and that would be the epic airport battle from Captain America: Civil War. I've said it before on the show, but this battle is easily my favorite fight scene of all time. whether you're talking just the Marvel Cinematic Universe or not. Do you understand how incredibly difficult it is to pull off a scene this massive with so many A-list characters and different personalities, and for it to be this amazing? From a logistical standpoint alone, it's utterly insane, but they nailed it. In a nutshell, this scene has everything from the emotions of Black Panther just wanting to kill Winter Soldier out of revenge for his father, Iron Man basically pleading with Captain America to reconsider and turn himself in, to Spider-Man making his debut in the MCU and just wanting to impress Tony Stark. The entire battle is just the perfect combination of emotion, intensity, action, and humor in my opinion. I mean, you have 12 awesome comic book heroes fighting each other. Let's be honest, we comic book fans love seeing our favorite heroes fighting each other, and it's kind of twisted. In the end, Infinity War has some big shoes to fill if they're looking to produce a fight scene better than this. Thankfully, the Russo brothers are back as the directors for Infinity War, and if anyone could do it, it's definitely those guys. But that's our list of the top 10 fights in the MCU. Your list is probably different, so let us know how they rank in the comment section down below. First up for Wednesday, April 4th, we have Venomized Issue 1. The story that began in Venomverse reaches its epic conclusion. The Poisons, a species that hunger for superpowered symbiotes, and their host have picked their next target: the entire Marvel Universe. Here we have the Punisher issue 223. When a nuke threatens innocent people, Frank Castle pulls out all the stops. Now we have Batman issue 444. Follow Batman and Catwoman on two separate but parallel paths as their wedding planning kicks into high gear. And finally we have Batman the White Knight issue 7. This issue is Jack versus the Joker. Napier's identity crisis spins out of control and compromises his grand plans for Gotham City, but not before he strikes a fatal bargain with Neo Joker. And that's going to bring another episode of Variant to a close, but remember to follow us on all our social media, like our Facebook, our Instagram, our Twitter, and on our website. Also, if you like the channel, be sure to subscribe and then hit the bell next to it so you're notified whenever we upload a new video. But I'll see you guys next time when I talk about all things comics.